Jesus with our heads of institutions here present, Dr. Chairman AG Muhammad Umar, Dr. Chairman Sani AG Muhammad, the members of the Senate, directors, HODs, staff of the university, specially invited guests, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you specially to the 15th Inaugural Lecture in the series of professorial lectures of Gombe State University. The Chairman of the Governing Council, sir, with your permission at this moment, I want to quickly and respectfully invite the Chairman of the Organizing Committee of, I beg your pardon, recognize the presence of Professor Garba Kalai, Professor J.D. Somasandra, who are distinguished professors in the House. We especially welcome you and we honor your presence. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Chairman of the Governing Council, please with your permission, I want to invite for the introduction of the event, the Chairman of the Organizing Committee, who is also the Chairman of the University Ceremonies Committee, Professor Muhammad Umar, for the introduction of the event. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. The Pro-Chancellor and Chairman, Gombe State University Governing Council, who is now today a very special guest to this historic occasion, Professor B.Y. Abubakar, the Acting Vice-Chancellor, Professor Sani Ahmed Yauta, Principal Officers of the University, visiting Vice-Chancellors, distinguished members of the University Senate, special guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today, we are yet here, we continue to make history. And today, it is yet another day, historic day. The 15th Inaugural Lecture, Professorial Inaugural Lecture at Gombe State University. And as we say always, inaugural lectures, maybe just to remind us, are traditions in universities worldwide where newly appointed or promoted professors will have the opportunity to come and write and address or unprofess on their chosen field of or their career. And Gombe State University has also joined this tradition, and we have been doing it now for quite some time, so much so that today we are going to have the 15th Inaugural Lecture to be delivered by Professor Danladi Mohammed Umar from the Department of Biological Sciences. This is going to be the 5th from the Faculty of Science, and I believe the 1st from the Department of Biological Sciences. Mr. Vice-Chancellor, sir, let me also, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, make one or two announcements. We have been holding this fairly consistently monthly, but recently we took a decision and we consulted with the Acting Vice-Chancellor that instead of gathering here monthly, we will be gathering once every 2 months. However, we will be having dual presentations, meaning that we will be having two presentations. And we also proposed and we got the consent of the acting Vice-Chancellor that we will move the event into a morning affair. Instead of holding it in the evening, it will be taking place in the morning hours. All the details will come later. So, for instance, the month of March, which also coincidentally is the month of Ramadan, we may not be able to make any presentation in that month. So Professor Ruth Kinge from the Department of Political Science, who is supposed to be for the month of March, her presentation will be delayed and be put along with Professor Wilson Ambature, I think, in April, and then we'll take that the two at the end of April, inshallah. So this will be the modification, but the details will come out subsequently from the information that the committee will be issuing in due course. So let me at this juncture invite the acting Vice-Chancellor to come and give his opening remarks for this very important event. Mr. Acting Vice-Chancellor, sir.
The Chairman of Council, Professor B.Y. Abubakar, Principal Staff of the University, Professors, Dean and Directors, the Visiting Vice-Chancellors, Royal Fathers, lecturers, my colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and you are welcome to yet another inaugural lecture to be presented by one of our own. We are happy today that we welcome each and every one of you to the 15th Inaugural Lecture of Gombe State University. And as the chairman of the ceremonious committee said, this is what we have taken to ourselves as a university, and we will continue to make sure that we continue doing this thing for as long as we have professors in our midst. The topic of today, which is the role of freshwater ecology in water security and human well-being, is as human beings. And as we know, water is a fundamental resource essential for life, economic development, and environmental sustainability. So Professor Danladi is going to
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the chairman of the Government Council, sir, this the University Orator, Professor Isaac O. Ediba, while at the same time invite the guest lecturers to kindly rise and come to the podium for the reading of his citation. You're welcome, Prof. You're welcome, sir.
the Acting Vice-Chancellor, Gombe State University, Professor Sani Ahmed Yauta, the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of the University Governing Council, Professor B.Y. Abubakar. Prof, you are highly welcome to Gombe State University. Other members of the University Governing Council here present, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor and Inaugural Lecturer, our amiable Professor Danladi Mohammed Umar, who is the 15th Inaugural Lecturer of this university, the Vice-Chancellor, Northeast University, Professor Yusuf Amoda, the University Registrar, Dr. Abubakar Bafeto, PhD, the University Bossa, Mr. Jafania Shehu, the Librarian, Dr. Henry Abari Maina, the Provost of College of Medicine, Professor Muhammad Manga, the Chairman, University Ceremonies Committee and Director, Institute of Education, Professor Muhammad Guramaduku. Other heads of tertiary institutions here present, traditional rulers present, deans and directors in the university, our senior colleagues, Professor Kalai and Professor Sumasundra, heads of academic departments, other administrative and technical staff of the university, our dear postgraduate and undergraduate students, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Chairman of the University Governing Council, I have the authorization to render the citation on Professor Danladi Mohammed Umar, 15th Professorial Inaugural Lecturer of Gombe State University. Professor Danladi M. Umar hails from Gombe local government area of Gombe State, Nigeria. He was born on December 1st, 1962 in Bukuru, Jos South local government area of Plateau State. He attended the Roman Catholic Mission School, Giel, from 1969 to 1974, and Juladako High School, Kasa, from 1974 to 1979. He obtained the First School Living Certificate and the West African School Certificate, WAC, respectively. In 1982, he went to the School of Basic Studies, the Premier University of Northern Nigeria, ABU Zaria, and obtained the IJMB in Science. Professor Danladi M. Umar later furthered his education in the following institutions. He obtained the degree BSc Ed Biology in 1987 at the University of Jos, the Master of Science in Fisheries and Hydrobiology in 1990 in the same university. And he obtained his terminal degree, PhD in Freshwater Ecology in 2014 at the University of Canterbury, New Zealand. Professor Danladi Umar is a professor of freshwater ecology, an environmental consultant, former deputy dean, Faculty of Science, former head of Department of Biological Sciences, and director, Nigeria Mountain Forest Project, Mambila, the chairman, Taraba State Green Wall Committee, technical facilitator of TED Fund, Research and Development Standing Committee. Professor Danladi M. Umar started his career as a biology teacher with the then Bauchi State Ministry of Education in 1979. He was employed in this beautiful university as an assistant lecturer in 2005. And by dint of hard work and commitment to scholarship, he rose through the ranks and was proclaimed a professor in 2021. In the university, Professor Danladi M. Umar has made discernible landmarks in research and development through student supervision at undergraduate and postgraduate levels, which include PhD, thesis, and MSc dissertations. He has written many journal articles, technical reports, reviews, and has published a book on the Nigeria's highland microinvertebrate fauna in 2013. Professor Danladi M. Umar has distinguished himself in several administrative positions. As head of department, as I earlier mentioned, biological science in the period between 2015 to 2023. Deputy Dean, Faculty of Science, the period 2014 to 2020. Deputy Director, Research and Development, and currently he is excellently serving as the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Administration of Gombe State University. He has been the Director of Nigeria Montane Forest Project Mambila Plateau since 2019, a linkage program between the University of Canterbury in Zoo, London, and Gombe State University. He has served as chairman of many committees. He's a member of the University Senate and the Governing Council, the 4th, 5th, and 6th Council. Professor Danladi Umar attended several leadership workshops, which include the workshop at the Institute of African Leadership, Dayton University, Ohio State, in the United States of America in 2015. Senior academic leadership training organized by the Carnegie Corporation of New York, USA in 2017, among others. He is a fellow, Strategic Institute, bestowed on him in 2014. Fellow Institute of African Leadership, Dayton, Ohio, USA, conferred in 2015. Fellow Institute of Corporate Administration, conferred in 2021. Fellow Freshwater Biological Association of Nigeria, bestowed in 2024. And Fellow Association for Animal and Environmental Biology, conferred in 2024. He's a member of Fisheries Society of Nigeria, Nigeria Association for Aquatic Sciences, Nigeria Conservation Society, Nigeria Ecological Society, Freshwater Biological Society of Nigeria, among others for want of time. They also belong to international societies in New Zealand and other parts of the globe. He has supervised 6 PhD theses, 24 master dissertations to graduation. He has written 4 chapters in books and has to his credit 55 international and national journal papers. He's been external examiner to the Federal University of HJRY Gombe, Federal Universities of Technology Mina, Modibo Adama University Yola, and Fisheries and Hydrobiology, Aquatic Entomology, and Toxicity, among others. He has served as member of several NUC resource verification and accreditation teams. He has won several research grants, both locally and internationally, including TED Fund, institutional-based research, National Research Fund, Ruford Foundation, International Dragonfly Research Fund in Germany, African Finance Corporation, among others. His areas of ongoing research include freshwater biodiversity, aquatic pollution and toxicity, stream process, microinvertebrates, aquatic food, land use activities, and aquaponics development project. Professor Danladi M. Umar has traveled widely around the globe. He's happily married and blessed with 8 children. His hobbies are traveling, mountain climbing, swimming, and playing golf. May I, on behalf of the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of the University Governing Council, usher our DVC Professorial Inaugural Lecturer to please present his inaugural lecture.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. The Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of the Governing Council of the State University, Professor Baba Yusuf Abubakar, other members of the University Governing Council, the Acting Vice-Chancellor, Professor Sani Ahmed Yauta, the visiting Vice-Chancellors, especially Northeast University, my friend and brother, other visiting Vice-Chancellors, the Registrar, Dr. Aliuba Feto, the University Bossa, Mr. Japania Shehu, the University Librarian, Dr. Harry Abare, the Acting Director of Physical Planning of the State University, the Provosts, Deans, and Directors, distinguished professors, especially our senior professors, Professor Samasandra and Professor Kalae, distinguished head of departments, other academic, administrative, and technical staff of the university, traditional title holders among us, especially the Dagachin Malaina, my lovely wife and children, distinguished invited guests, students, gentlemen and ladies of the press, good evening to you all. The Vice Chancellor, sir, I have had the opportunity to listen to a number of inaugural lectures from eminent professors of this university since 2022, and perhaps read a few from other universities. A number of views have been expressed as to the focus of an inaugural lecture. Professor Colley in 2003 is of the view that it is primarily an academic ceremony aimed to introducing a new professor to his professorial chair. It also affords a new professor an opportunity to publicly declare what he professes. Vice Chancellor, sir, it is a great privilege, honor, and deep sense of fulfillment that I stand before you to present the first inaugural lecture from the Department of Biological Sciences, the 5th in the Faculty of Science, and the 15th in the university. In this inaugural lecture, it is to inform my audience some of the contributions I have made in my own field of specialization. Although I'm a freshwater ecologist, but it means a lot, as we are going to see. So I have chosen the topic, role of freshwater ecology in water security and human development, human well-being. That picture on the title page by the right reminds me of an episode when I was doing my PhD. My group research, the freshwater ecology research, went for an expedition in Australia. And these young white guys who can sleep inside water dragged me into the Tasman Sea, that if you jump into water, you will not sink. And I followed them. Coincidentally, I sank. So when I eventually came out, the first thing I did was to phone my wife that you are lucky your husband is still alive. So fresh water is very vital to human life, along with food. Water is a universal solvent and is very, very inevitable. Thank you. It's very inevitable. So for any water to be useful, it has to be healthy, and it has to be accessible. Just like in the hospitals and veterinary, humans and animals are examined and declared as healthy. The same thing also in freshwater ecology. We investigate what is happening in water and declare it to be healthy or unhealthy. Freshwater ecosystems. Freshwater ecosystem is where the amount of salt is less than 1%. So we consider the water to be fresh, because even the water that is inland may be salty, depending on the region through which the water is passing. But if the amount is not more than 1%, we consider it to be fresh. So we consider certain water ecosystems or bodies as fresh waters, like rivers, streams, ponds, and lakes. We also consider underground water, which is the major source of or the aquifer that supplies our boreholes and wells with water. So you can see these pictures are showing a variety of freshwater ecosystems, the forested streams, the meanders of rivers, the waterfalls, and water levels, water ecosystems that are found in grasslands. Types of freshwater ecosystems. We have different types of water ecosystems, as I have mentioned: rivers, ponds, lakes, and streams. But we also consider the status of water to classify it. If the water is running, we call it lotic. If it is standing, we refer to it as lentic. Most running waters tend to be clean and tend to be available for human, agricultural, and industrial activities. But lentic waters, or waters that are standing in one place, like ponds and lakes, may be polluted, and even if the water is there, it may not be available or very good for usual human activities. Important ecosystem services of fresh water include food. What comes to mind when we are talking about anything that comes from water is fish. But the reality is that many other things apart from fish which serve as food come from water. Imagine some of our amphibians, like the hippopotamus, reptiles, like the crocodiles, and birds. They are all residing in aquatic environment, and they serve as food. So water is very important as a habitat for a variety of organisms. We also consider plants and animals from water as a source of research or even manufacturing. For example, in health, most of the drugs that are produced come from algae and some other aquatic plants. In fact, some secretions from amphibians like frogs and other organisms are used in pharmaceutical industries. More so, there are some parts of certain animals that inhabit water that are used as ornamental materials. For example, like the scales of fish and crocodile can be used as a kind of abrasive for polishing certain surfaces. Now, water can serve as a cultural link. In some communities, a lot of cultural relationship is attached to water bodies. Either some of the animals that are found in the water are so very important to certain festivities to the community. For example, if you look at like in Argungu, on yearly basis there is Argungu Fishing Festival. So you can see the community attach a lot of importance to that. And there are many other communities that are residing near water bodies that have some cultural affiliation. Also, water can serve as a recreational place, like sports, swimming, boating. Also, it could serve in terms of primary and technical curriculum for both primary school and secondary school, including even tertiary education. Most of the time, we're actually happening in nature, what is happening in the water, and how water can be protected. For example, like in freshwater ecology, there is a study we call diurnal water studies. You spend 2 days just at the bank of a river, monitoring the activities in water, taking physicochemical parameters like temperature, pH, and also seeing how primary productivity is taking place, like photosynthesis, for 48 hours. And if you compare that, it will give you the activities that is happening in that water, and that will enable you to now classify the water, whether it is productive or unproductive. And that's why we have bodies of water that are oligotrophic, that means no activity. Eutrophic, that means you see algal bloom, it looks green, or mesotrophic, in between the unproductive and the productive axis. Freshwater ecological issues. Yes, as we study freshwater ecology, looking at the prospects and the utilities, we also look at the issues associated with freshwater systems. Now, most of the time we just see water as something that comes not from an industry. It comes from above. So we can use it anyhow, not thinking about how it can be replaced and how it can be protected. That is why you can see we have rivers and streams that are channelized for production of hydroelectricity or for irrigation or for some other purposes without minding the implication. In fact, it even has political tone, undertone, not only the utilities. For example, a river is coming from Futajalon Island and is passing through Benin Republic. It's also coming into Nigeria. It's intercepting through several countries. And if those countries also want to utilize the water by channeling it to produce hydroelectric power or some other usage, definitely those are the downstream, like the Nigerian Kainji power, may become shortfall, may experience shortfall in terms of the water level, and that will reduce the amount of electricity that is being generated. Also, for example, like in the Cameroon, they have a very big dam. Anytime they want to look for trouble or look for compensation from Nigeria, they open this dam, and a lot of communities are being washed on the Mambila Plateau. And that can create a lot of problems. So we consider that as issue. So looking at other human activities that can affect freshwater ecosystems include like bush burning. At the onset of rainy seasons, people set fire freely in the bush so that they will clear the land for farming, and that can result in increasing the amount of sediments in the water bodies and will make respiration difficult for the aquatic animals. Also, you can see that animals are allowed to graze freely inside waterways. That could lead to pollution. People who are living downstreams may be taking polluted water, while those upstreams are just contaminating the water. Also, you can see there, maize is being washed or some other foodstuff like cassava in the water channel, and that pollutes the water. You can see also water that has been channelized into vegetable gardens, and other activities. So all these can contribute in increasing the pollution rate, increasing the water temperature, and may lead to distorted water cycle. Water cycle is evaporation, precipitation, evaporation, and then precipitation again, it comes down, and the runoff will continue to cycle. So this cycle can be interrupted at one stage or the other. And in the temperate areas where we have snow and ice, these rising temperatures may lead to melting of ice, and the water level will increase, and it will cause a lot of disturbances like tsunami and other disturbances in some communities. So global water crisis is an issue that has been discussed even at the United Nations. In the United Nations, it has been observed that some countries are hard hit by water crisis. They are hard hit in the sense that an individual may have only about 10 cubic meters of water in 1 year, which is not enough. On the other hand, you have some parts of the world where it may be desert and it hardly rains. So water is a big issue in those areas. So whether in the hard heat or low heat, we conclude as water or freshwater ecologists that fresh water is a very big issue around the globe. You can see in some communities, you can see how people are queuing up for water that is not even available. In some other communities, people are just praying in the desert for rain to fall. In other communities, the taps are dry. And in others, people are just scavenging water, while in other places, the water is not even fit for drinking because of its polluted nature. So all these contribute to the global water crisis. So all these and many other activities of freshwater ecology is what I have been working on with my colleagues. But as the Vice-Chancellor, sir, you've asked me to talk about what I've been doing for the past 20 years that I've been in the Gombe State University. I can tell you that I want to thank my colleagues and my students that we have done quite a lot, but not too much. But I will mention only 7 areas where we actually concentrated. So these areas include freshwater invertebrates. Invertebrates are animals that do not have backbone, and they are found in water. So they are very important indicators to us freshwater ecology to predict the future and even tell what has happened several years before. We also looked at freshwater, the riparian land use, and how litter is decomposed. In places like in the tropics, sometimes decomposition may be as a result of decomposing organisms like bacteria and fungi due to rise in temperature. But some of the water bodies that were found on the highland in Nigeria, we've realized that the decomposition does not follow the global pattern, which I'm going to say later. Food web. We also looked at food wave structures in the tropical highland. Food web is very, very important because it's through food web that we can trace a lot of phylogenetic changes. In fact, even some of the chemicals that are being used, they are not environmentally friendly because they can pass through food chain from the lowest consumer to the highest consumer. For example, like some of the chemicals that are used as insecticides or weedicides or pesticides, they have been found to move into. Okay, open it for me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So, like the active ingredients in insecticides is DDT, diethyl trichloroethane. It's a non-degradable substance that has been used to kill insects. And these insects find their way through invertebrates that are fed on them, and then birds eat them, and eventually they come back to man and get deposited on in our tissues. And by the time you have certain stress condition like malaria and you've gone to the hospital, the doctors will treat you with all the anti-malaria, not that the drugs are not effective, but because of this DDT that is in the, which is released during stress, it will now antagonize the drugs that have been prescribed for the patient by the doctor, and it will be considered as an ineffective, not knowing that there is reason for that, not the drug, but another chemical. So the next one is biotic index for Nigerian highland. In most countries, it is acceptable to use certain natural phenomena to analyze and classify water bodies. In areas where there is no sufficient funds to buy gadgets, modern equipment to do that, it's acceptable when natural or biological indices are used to classify the position or the health status of water bodies, whether it is dirty, clean, or is polluted. So we also attempted to do something for the highland areas. And then we also looked at pollution, aquatic pollutions in the highland areas. And lastly, on our ongoing research, we are working on aquaponics and aquaculture. So to start with, we examined about 55 streams on the highland area to see how macroinvertebrates, or these animals that are in fresh water that do not have backbone, some of them are so sensitive that they respond to changes immediately. They disappear. Some, they will respond by not reproducing as expected, so their population will be low. Others will persist because they are tolerant. So we found on the highland that looking at different land use activities. For example, on the highland, we have people who farm maize, tea plantations, vegetable farms, gardens, bananas, and then grazing. So we study streams that pass through some of these land uses. And we realized that the organisms that are found in the aquatic system tend to be more in terms of pollution in the forested streams, followed by the fragmented streams, and very poor in the streams that agricultural activities taking place, like the maize and the tea. So we attribute the presence or absence of organisms to be related to either high level of oxygen, because organisms will prefer where there is sufficient oxygen. They will also prefer where the temperature is low or moderate. But where the temperature is high and there is deficit in oxygen, definitely they will disappear. And we consider such environment as very poor or polluted. So we actually looked at the density, the EPT taxa. The density is higher in the forest, the amount of organisms, number of organisms. Then the EPT taxa, or what we call the sensitive taxa, Ephemeroptera, Plecoptera, and Trichoptera. That is the mayflies, stoneflies, and caddisflies. They are found in pristine water bodies, like in the forested and fragmented streams, but were very poorly distributed in the other streams that agricultural activities is taking place. We all know that the kind of agriculture we practice, we use farm chemicals and other inorganic materials which are washed into the streams, and that can reduce the viability of the water for sustaining life. Then we also use like the Simpson-Margalef index to get the indices of these organisms. So to get what is actually driving, what is the force driving organisms into the forested streams and fragment streams, we use this the trended correspondence analysis, which clearly indicated to us that there is higher density of all organisms, especially those that are sensitive to pollution in the forested and fragmented streams because of high level of oxygen and low low temperature. Although we did not stop there, we got a grant to do a job with the International Computer Association. One of my friends, who was a computer engineer, he knows that we biologists are very careful about maths, but he told me that you have a limit in statistics. Statistics can only give you or can approximate. But if you want to get precision, you want to be precise and get something, then you have to go back to algorithm. And this algorithm that they use in mathematics and computer to get to the target. For example, if maybe in the military technology, they want to produce a missile that will strike millions of people, the missile will not just follow carbon secretion. All of us breathe out carbon dioxide. There are some plants also that can release carbon dioxide, especially during particular time of the day. So if there is no precision, the missile will just hit on the wrong target. But with algorithm, they will make sure that the carbon is coming from humans using some genetic imprints. And that's exactly what we use, and we got grants and publish it in an international journal. So the freshwater invertebrates or the photographic guide is an idea that came to me. Since we started working on the Mambila, it was very difficult for us to get information on these freshwater invertebrates. The only few information that we got was something that was done in 1918 and all those long time, which is not current. So we decided to embark on a journey to sample as many of these macroinvertebrates, take them to New Zealand and the US to make sure that we identify them to their genus and specific level using resolutions in taxonomy. And we were able to come up with some handful number of these macroinvertebrates. In fact, some we even use isotope analysis at the University of California, UC Davis facilities to make sure that they are the ones that we are looking for. And that has even led us to coming across some species that were partly named, but they seem to be strange to science. We are still contesting that those things are new discoveries that we have made, but we don't want to proclaim at the moment. So here you can see how we sample macroinvertebrates using KickNet, which is a quantitative sampling, and then SOBA sampler, which is qualitative. And then here in the laboratory, we analyze, we use microscope, electron microscope, and other facilities to make sure that we get all the features that will enable us to identify them to the specific level. And this is how the book looks like. So in this particular point, I will not show everything about the book. It's just a few things for want of time. So that is one of the things we got, like the mayflies. We have mayflies, stoneflies, and caddisflies. Mayflies actually reproduces in May when the rainy seasons are high. That's why we call them mayflies. Stoneflies, big house, and once you frighten it, it will just retreat and go back for protection. So we call those as caddis flies. So this particular mayfly area resemble the mayfly part of the world where temperature is extremely low, snow is falling and there is ice. So what is it doing in Nigeria on the Mambila? So we ask questions. Could it be somebody brought it from there and kept it here? And why is it that if you move down, Mambila is mayfly? What is the magic? So we realize it's because of the low temperature and high oxygen content that these mayflies have developed this eton. Please, they should put Umar. That is the name. The same thing also with the family Heterogeneidea. It also resembles another family that is found in Europe. But we ask the same questions, and we say that if they want to do justice, let them name it after my supervisor, John Harding. So these are some of the substrates where some of these insects can be found in water. This is the stoneflies. Normally stoneflies, you can differentiate them from caddisflies and mayflies. Mayflies have 3 tails. Stoneflies have 2. And then caddisflies, they don't have any tail, but they have prolegs. So these are caddisflies. They don't have, they only have prolegs. Those are the prolegs. These are just larvae. And this is the case I was telling you. Immediately, if there is any danger, it will retreat and hide inside the house that it has manufactured, either from sand, from leaves, or any material that is available in the water body. Now, another interesting thing that we did on the Mambila was to work on the dragonfly. In the literatures, dragonflies are always running away from light. But the dragonflies on the highland area of Nigeria, they are attracted by light. And that earned us a grant from the International Dragon Fund, which is in Germany, to work on it and find out why are they attracted to light in Nigeria. The thing is, as the saying goes by Chief Zebediah of late memory, anything good, it's Europe. Anything bad, it's Africa. So this is part of the problem. Yes, they are attracted to light because in their body. And the fund was very impressed, and they gave us some sort of incentives and awards for further research. So these are the adult dragonflies. Dragonflies are important for the fact that they can be found in every environment, including polluted area, but they are very good in navigation. A dragonfly can travel from Gombe to the United States of America. And this is the reason why navigators use the movement of dragonflies to find their way in the sea. Like sailors, if they see the direction where... Now the beetle family we found also in the highland. So in the highland we found so certain are the Diastiscus marginalis or the silver beetles. And then also we found the Cephenid or the water penny, which is not found in the lowland areas. Again, the water bugs or the hemipterans, they are very good indicators of water quality. We found quite a number of variety of these. Like this one you are seeing there is what we call NEPA. It's a water scorpion. Sometimes if an amateur swim in a pond, he may receive a bite or sting from water scorpion. And the enzymes that are introduced into the body can paralyze the nervous system. And they will not be able to swim again, and then will go down. And that will be ones that we found, like the leeches and the roundworms, which belong to the family Nematoda. But the others, the annelids, were also found in the aquatic system. You know one thing about these leeches, there are so many diseases that are being transmitted through intermediate hosts. For example, like bilharziasis. So the brevificate cercaria of some of these parasites will be swimming freely and is being transmitted by these leeches when it attaches to the skin, and it can transmit it, and that could lead to development of the disease. So we dry leaves, we weigh, we put it in the onion bags, and then insert them in streams and retrieve them a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and see the amount of leaves that have disappeared by weighing it, and also to see the number of organisms that are found inside the onion bags. We found that those bags that were put in the forested streams tend to lose more weight than the ones in the tea, cabbage, and maize farms. We also realized that the ones that were in the forest had more macroinvertebrates than the others. But the simple answer was that there were more shredders in the forested streams. Shredders are macroinvertebrates that shred or feed on leaves. That could be the reason. Because of the low temperature, if it were in Gombe, we will conclude it's because of bacterial activity because of the high temperature. But up on the Mambila, the temperature of the water can be like 16 degrees, 14 degrees, so it's not a good reason enough. So these are some of the parameters and how we found the number of macroinvertebrates that were then